And we are live. Subject to... Subject to opinion. Whether or not we are actually live. Holy shit.
And we are live.
All right.
Subject to...
Now I have to find this window.
Subject to opinion. Whether or not we are actually live.
Big fail.
Holy shit. And we are live.
Where is it?
All right. Subject to...
Oh, this is really bad.
Now I have to find this window.
I have too many windows open.
Subject to opinion. Whether or not we are actually live.
Big fail.
Holy shit. We are live.
How many windows do I have open?
All right. Subject to...
Crap.
Oh, this is really bad. Now I have to find this window.
This.
Too many windows open.
This.
Subject to opinion.
Huge fail.
Whether or not we are actually live.
All right,
Big
I'm
fail.
getting there.
Holy shit. We are live.
How many windows do I have open?
All right. Subject to...
Crap.
Oh, this is really bad.
Where is it?
Now I have to find this.
This.
Too many windows open.
This.
Subject to opinion.
I can't find it.
Huge fail. Whether or not we are actually live.
Alright,
Big
I'm
fail.
getting there.
Holy shit.
It's going to get louder and louder and louder and louder until we can't take it anymore! I wonder if it's on another browser.
Now I have to find this. Too many windows open.
This. Oh, it was another browser! Now that is an introduction. That is an introduction. Alright, so now I need to get my shit together. Oh my god. Well, let's take a look at this first of all. Bitcoin! Bitcoin is hurting for certain, but that's good. As my thumbnail and my title suggests. Yep, it was certainly meant to be clickbait, but there's also some truth to it. Last night I started, I did a clickbait thing, and it was more of a lazy show. I was tired, just experimenting. But here I'm going to reiterate and expound upon, make more clear my position on why Bitcoin must die in order for the cryptoverse, in order for decentralized ledgers to survive. Bitcoin must come down to a point where it is on life support. Its last breath. And the reason for that is so that we can rid ourselves of the scourge that we know as altcoins. Altcoins, I've previously said that they're 95 to 97% frauds, Ponzi schemes, complete crap. And I'm going to revise that and say it's 99%, maybe higher. There may be 3, 4, maybe 6 projects out there that have any kind of validity or reason for existence. And I'm going to even say no, not even those. Maybe we have to wipe the whole slate clean, regardless of all this wonderful and really a lot of hours of effort, man hours, man days, man years of effort that have gone into all these innovations in decentralized ledgers. But if you're working to make crap better, all you're making is better crap. Or crappier. And that's really the problem. And it's the reason why. And it's not just the technology. It is the underlying vision. It is the philosophy. It is this, really what is a socialist, sort of utopian communistic philosophy that we can have this one one thing that will control the world. Everybody will fall under the decentralized umbrella. We will all be the same. We will all be units in the bigger consciousness. That's not what we want. It's not what we need. That is the destruction of humanity. That's what decentralized ledgers mean to me today. That is the direction they are going on today. And it is the reason why there is such corruption. Because it's so easy to corrupt. And that is that is ironic. Oxymoron. It's oxymoronic. A lot of people don't realize that oxymoronic is oxymoric. That is the actual correct pronunciation. And that's the deal. What everybody has been trying to sell us as this way to be able to trust the network, trust the Bitcoin, trust the network, trust the Bitcoin God. You don't have to trust your neighbor anymore. No. You just trust the AI. Trust the consciousness. Submit yourself to it. Give yourself up. Give all your possessions to it. It's a cult. It's communism. It is the worst and most degrading and most horrific and most evil of suggestions, that we give up our individuality. So Hayseed wants me to talk you down gently. Well, what am I supposed to say? Just take your hand out of the asshole and don't lick your finger. That's what you are. You're plugged in to the biggest shithole that has ever been invented. And it was invented by soy boys and communists looking for a utopian world. A utopian world sounds good, but it's not. It's the exact opposite of what it pretends. I keep on seeing these articles in mediums, talking down capitalism, for instance, saying how capitalism is evil. No, people are evil. The system is not evil. Capitalism has brought us from the Stone Age to where we are today. And, well, some people might look at that and say, well, yeah, we'll see. No. Capitalism has risen the standard of living of every human being on this planet. Not socialism, not communism. The ideal that the individual is supreme amongst everything. That's what our country was founded on, and it's the reason why this is the greatest nation and system of government ever conceived by man. And if you don't think that, then you are a communist. You are the backward one. You are the evil one. If you're trying to subvert our system for your own nefarious means, the system itself will right you. That's what's great about it. Its form of decentralization, a representative republic, not a democracy. A democracy is communism. It's veiled communism. We are a representative republic. We are not a democracy. We are a decentralized public. That's what it means. But it's not ultimate decentralization. It's decentralized down to demographic areas, small enough where people can control their being, their lives. And Bitcoin and decentralized ledgers look to wipe that out. It must be retooled, rethought. And I think it should really be retooled on the foundation of what this country was built on a republic, a decentralized federation, where the governance is decentralized. The governance is specific to each of those smaller demographics. That is the future. And if we can use technology to enable that and still maintain the independence of the individual, the individualism of the individual, the rights of that individual, only then will a decentralized currency work. So, I'm not saying that our form of government here is perfect, but it is the most perfect thing on the planet and in humankind. It is less evil than anything else that has ever been conceived. And I didn't say the government should control money. However, our Constitution does state that explicitly. That's because the government is the people. And we've moved away from that. We are the government. The government should fear us, not the other way around. We are the government. I don't think liberals think that way. Leftists certainly don't think that way. And I would say that even people on what is known as the alt-right, and that's not what people are calling the alt-right these days. I'm talking about the far right. They are just as bad as the far left. And it's not the people right in the middle that want to sit on the fence on everything. Hedge everything. Half measures. Half measures are mediocrity. Have some gall. Have some guts. Have some balls. Like Laura Loomer. She's got balls. Laura Loomer, as a woman, has more balls than 10 of the best men out there. She stands up for what she believes. She's an individual. Ernie just watched a Fidel Castro speech, and you're getting that out of that? I am the anti-Fidel Castro. And I'm not screaming at you to try to coalesce and try to create this bigger commune. No. I'm fighting for the individual. Everybody should have their own thing. And that should be and reign supreme. A lot of people don't realize that Buddhism is actually based on that same foundation. Yet the left has co-opted many types of Buddhist sect and turned it into a political platform. The Buddhists knew that the only way to help your fellow man was to help yourself first. To relieve yourself of suffering, and that is the only way to relieve others of their suffering. All right. I don't know if you felt that, or knew that this conversation about Bitcoin must die in order for it to survive went that deep with me, but it does. I mean, I think that there's some potential there, but it's got to be rethought, rethunk. All right, so I'm going to scroll up, and we're going to take a look at some of the comments here. That is my position. That's how I feel. That is what's right. That's what works. Challenge me. Sure, go ahead, challenge me. Anything but a representative republic, a decentralized governance model. One that respects the right of the individual above all else is evil. and must be destroyed. Let's see here. I know I got in a little late, and I'm sorry about that. So I tried to throw it all together, and that's why I had that fail on the background noise. I had a window open that it happens. Ernie, can you talk about why you closed out your longs on ES, EMD, and what do you mean by a 50% retracement? All right, so that's a very, very specific question that most people are not privy to. That was a very temporary thing. Yes, I did close out my longs last night in the E-mini S&P and the Dow E-mini and in the EMD, which is the S&P 400 mid-cap futures contracts. And I took substantial gains off the bottom. Substantial. I did it to reset because I was unsure about what might happen today. And so it did pull back. Pulled back some, at least compared to yesterday. That move yesterday, it pulled back about 50%. And then I stepped back in with a minimal position in each one of those contracts. So it was a risk mitigation move. That's why I did it. And the 50% retracement was on yesterday's move only. First we had a substantial move the day before that was sparked by Chairman Powell of the Fed, when he implied that they may be slowing down on rate hikes. And so the market took off. The market loved that. And a lot of people thought that, well, maybe he's kowtowing to the Trumpster, to the orange one. And I think that's true. And I don't mind it, because I think the Trumpster, the Donald, is correct. And history bears us out that the Fed is the sole, or holds the sole responsibility for initiating virtually every recession that we have ever come across that wasn't sparked by some other outside event. They're always trying to put their hands in there and meddle and fiddle about and try to fix things like us humans, as if we know and we understand the vast complexity of this financial system. We don't. But there are a few people that think that they do. And they want to fix it. And they keep on fixing it. And they don't see the effect of their fixing until it's too late. And I could show you this. I mean, it's very, very clear when you take a look at the yield curve as it relates to the markets. And you know what? I will do that. I will do that to prove my point. So what we're going to do is we are going to do a search for the dynamic yield curve. Now, I'm sorry if this goes over the head of some people, and maybe you don't understand what the yield curve actually is. The yield curve is a way of looking at our debt. Yield is synonymous with interest rates. Our entire economy is based on lending and borrowing money, and that borrowing comes at a cost that we call the yield, or interest rates. That yield is mitigated, the volatility in that yield is mitigated and also traded through a product called bonds. And we have bonds of every different category or length of expiration, or that represents debt of different expiry. So we have short-term debt and long-term debt. We have bonds that are down to a day, all the way up to 30 years and more, and they're talking about 50-year bonds. The rate across all of that different debt of different ages, the rates of all of those is called the yield curve. When you plot the rate of each one, the shorter term is usually smaller interest rates. Like right now it's around 2.5%, and then it goes, maybe you go to a 2-year and it might be 3%, and then 5-year and it might be 3.2%, and then 10-year might be 3.5%, and so on until you get up to the 30-year. That plot is called the yield curve, and it's a way of us looking at the economy. And the shape of that curve says a lot about our economy, whether it's healthy or is heading towards a brick wall. A healthy yield curve is something that we call a steep yield curve, where short-term rates are decidedly smaller or lower than long-term rates. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because things that are longer term should be higher in terms of their cost, because they're further out, they're more of an unknown, they have more volatility associated with them. So a yield curve that represents short-term rates that are low, and then ever-increasing long-term rates, longer-term rates, that is a healthy yield curve. It's called a steepened yield curve. All right. So now we're going to go to a very cool tool on stockcharts.com called the dynamic yield curve. And before I put it up, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, center it, and I'll have to do a little explanation, which means that I'm going to have to put it in front. I know you're going to miss me, but I'll be here, right here, talking you through all of this, so just hold on. All right, so we have two charts here. The chart on the right is a chart of the S&P 500, the 500 biggest companies in our economy. And it is very representative of the entire economy. On the left-hand side is the yield curve, a plot of the yield curve. Remember, I said it was a plot of the interest rates, or the yields, of the short-term bonds, actually what they call them. Let's see. That was just a note. Sorry about that. So we have short-term down to 3-month, all the way up to 30-year. You can see that on the chart on the left. And then that red line is a plotting of it. Now you look at that red line, you'd say, man, that looks not very steep. It looks kind of flat. And that's the problem. That's the problem. Now this flat yield curve, this is the yield curve based on a specific time in history of the right-hand chart, which is the chart of the S&P 500, the market, the stock market. There's a little red scrubber here, a little red scrubber that I can move. You see that? That little red scrubber? And it will show me the yield curve shape at any time in history. Now, way over here, that's before the dot-com bubble burst, about 18 years ago. So January of 1999. Now watch what happens as I approach. Remember the big tech bubble crash that was in 2001? This is just before that, and you can see that we have a very flat-looking yield curve. And as we approach 2001, as the economy is heating up and the Federal Reserve is continuing to raise short-term rates, they keep on raising them, saying, "We must save the world! We must save the world and make short-term rates higher so that we can slow down this heated economy, because a heated economy is going to burn us all up." So they do that. They do that, and they keep on raising those short-term rates until they create a very unhealthy situation where short-term rates start becoming the same value or price as long-term rates, and it confuses the fuck out of everybody. Until it becomes untenable and becomes inverted, where the short-term rates are actually longer or more expensive than the long-term rates. And what they're saying there is that they no longer value long-term anymore. Everything is focused on the short-term because they don't know what the hell's going to happen next. And then what happens when it gets too bad? Blammo! The market drops like a rock. And then what happens? The Fed starts backing off and lowering interest rates on short-term, and it gets back down to a steep yield curve where everything is copacetic and happy and presents an environment where we can grow. And so we start growing. We grow and grow, and the Fed keeps on getting more nervous and say, no, we can't grow. We must stop that growth because it's evil. We must raise those short-term rates and create another situation where we create a recession and crash the market again and start all over. Well, this time, in the Obama era, he said, well, or he didn't say, maybe he did say it because everything turned political. They politicized everything, including the Fed, including the Department of Justice, including everything was infiltrated by the evil Democrats. The evil liberals, the communists. They wanted to create a false economy. They wanted to keep rates at zero and not let it just do what it would. All right? Okay, here we go. Now, watch what happens. We have nice long-term rates and a very healthy short-term rate, nice steep yield curve. The economy starts taking off after the crash of 2009. You remember that? The S&P hit 666, the devil's number. And we blast off, and we kept on blasting off. We kept on blasting off. But look, the long-term rates are starting to fall. They're starting to fall. They're not going up anymore. They're starting to fall. And the economy wavered. Sure, we kept on pumping cash into the market and kept things going, but it was empty. Volatility was low. Jobs sucked. Just, lots of people had jobs, second, third, and fourth jobs, and they made nothing. And look at that. It just kept on going down and down. And then finally, after immense pressure, the Fed started inching interest rates up just in time for the Trumpster. Now, what was previously happening where Obama had all that free money where he could spend willy-nilly out of anything, and it didn't matter where the economy went because they kept on pumping money in, that money was gone. And now the Fed is raising interest rates in anticipation of this new economy, making the economy more expensive, making our debt more expensive. And now look what happens. We're turning into this flattened curve again. But all interest rates are relatively low compared to before. And here we are now, the Fed, this last little blip here, we have a nice little pullback. And they're talking about still increasing interest rate. What the fuck? Holy shit, what the hell? Trump said, no, don't do that. And under incredible backdoor pressure, Powell's, just the other day he said, well, okay, maybe we took it a little bit too far this time. Maybe the Trumpster's right. He didn't say that. He'll never say that. Because the Fed is supposed to be independent, but we know it's not. They don't want another situation like 2001 or 2009 where we become inverted and the economy then tips over and crashes. And this crash would be much bigger because the debt situation is much bigger. Trump just started getting things under control, starting to bring the cost of energy down. Oh, I need to get... We've had enough with this chart. So what we need to do is put that in the background and put me in the foreground. The Trumpster said, we need to cut taxes, cut regulations so that we can expand the economy. That's the only way that we can solve this debt crisis, because Congress certainly isn't going to do it. They're going to keep on spending like hell. And the Fed isn't going to help. They're going to keep on raising interest rates thinking that they're doing good. Although there are some people that think that there is nefarious reasons why they do what they do. And he saw that we were heading into another crash. He said, I'm going to stem that crash. I'm going to get rid of regulation. I'm going to cut taxes. And I'm going to expand this economy. And then the last thing he did just recently was that he unleashed the power of our ability to produce energy, to drill for oil and natural gas. And he's flooding the market. We are now the #1 producer of energy in the world. No one else can compare. And he's flooding the market, and he's driving those energy prices down. How do I know this? Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look. And we're going to put in here oil futures. Light crude oil. And we'll look at it on a daily basis. I want you to see that. Well, that means that I have to get my face out of the way. I want you to see that. Trump made the declaration that energy prices were too high back in early October, and that he wanted prices down, and he was going to punish Saudi Arabia and OPEC and everybody else that didn't listen to him. And what happened? You see this move here? This move in oil prices is unprecedented in history. All history. It's never moved like that. From a peak of $76 down to where it is today. $50, and it's going to go lower. It's going to go much lower. That cost, that price, has a direct bearing on each and every one of us. The amount of money we pay for energy, which translates to prices at the gas pump, the heating that we use, the cost of virtually every friggin' product that we buy that uses energy to create it, which is everything. That is like a tax. He has basically created a massive stimulus and a massive tax cut. A lot of people think that he was kind of light on Saudi Arabia and the whole Khashoggi thing. But no! He's not light. He's got their tits between his fingers and he's twisting them. And they're saying, no more, Trump! Okay, we'll drop, we'll stop, we'll keep on producing. We'll drop those prices. We'll keep them low. That's what's happening. That's the truth of the matter. And I challenge you to go back and look at any other time in history. Here's a weekly chart. Yeah, I'll put that up there. Here's a weekly chart. Do you see any other move like that? Let's go to a monthly chart. I don't really have to do this, but monthly chart. All right, now, here's the recession. Whammo. All right? This was the result. And here's the other recession. Whammo. Trump says, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through a period where oil is forced to go down because no one's using it. And that's the difference. That is the difference. There has never been another point in history where an economy was still strong and then oil prices were forced down. It always gets forced down based on a calamity. A systematic drop while we have a strong economy is like a massive tax cut. Our GDP is surging. 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4. It may go to 4.5%, 5%, 6%, 7%. Now the Fed will want to squash that, saying, no, you people who are making money, you can't make money. We must squash you and keep you subservient. Well, fuck you, Fed. Abolish the Fed. So there we are. There we are. Bitcoin is never going to be a payment system, not in its current form. It's never going to be a store of value. It's certainly proved that it can't hold its value. It's dropped 85%, and it's going to drop more. It's going to drop 95%. It's going to drop 98%. And it must, and it's going to stay there for a long time. And those people who have survived on hopium are going to go through significant withdrawal. Bad night sweats. Shaking. Uncontrollable shaking. That monkey's going to be on their back, and it's going to be clawing at it until they give it up. And then maybe someday it'll come back. Enterprises, Fortune 1000s, 5000s, 100s, 50s, may be able to discover a sane business model that they can then use a decentralized ledger that might actually have some usefulness in their business. Because it doesn't right now. Because if it did, they would be embracing it. There's a few out there that are embracing it. And I'm sure, all the Bitcoin faithful are pointing to those like a Fidelity or this guy or that guy and saying, well, they're doing it. They're doing it because they're hedging their bets. But now it's costing them. And all of those projects are going to wither away. The SEC won't touch it. They won't allow it to infiltrate our economy through futures and other derivatives because they see how evil it is and how bad, how it just drags along the worst scum of the earth. That is the reality, my friends. That's the way the world works. The world works through strength. By keeping America strong and pushing our way of life, our way of governing, where the people govern, where we operate in a representative republic, where there is a separation of powers, where the rights of the individual are supreme. That is the gift that we give to humanity. And that is the gift that Trump is trying to preserve. I will admit, he is very rough around the edges, and he is an arrogant son of a bitch, and he's kind of a dick. But he cares about this country, and he cares about our system of government, and he cares about the individual. What's he got to lose? He was a billionaire, now he's the most powerful man in the world. And when he leaves office, he will go back to being a billionaire. By that time, I'm sure he's not going to have much to do with his companies. I mean, not sure what he will do. The great thing about him is that he can't be bought. And he doesn't comport to the deep state and the globalists who want there to be no such thing as individual liberty. They want a collective. It's the collective philosophy versus the individual philosophy. That's what it's all about. Display Z, dumb. You dumb. You're a dick. Well, Stu, I know that the actual amount of money in crypto is small now. That's because it's like, 1/10 of where it was. And it's really only a few people in it now, as well as some soy boys and a couple of people that are infected still with the hopium. So I'm getting all the other people who are still infected with globalism that are arguing with me. And I say, fuck you! You know not what you speak. And I feel sorry for you. They have conditioned you. Really feel sorry for you. So there's a comment here. The Hot Crumb says, what the fuck? UK petrol per liter is more expensive now at $50 a barrel than it was over $100 a barrel. And that's not because of the price of oil. That's because of your socialist, communistic tendencies in the UK Parliament. The globalists there that don't want Brexit, that want to suck off of, they want free stuff. And then in order to get free stuff, they must tax the fuck out of you. And that's what UK petrol is. It is a fuck tax. It's a fuck you tax. Man, you guys are so close to falling into the pit of hell. Especially the things that happened over the past summer by taking away freedom of speech. Now the UK is institutionalizing the taking away of freedom of speech. That is the ultimate freedom, followed by the second most ultimate, and that's the ability to defend yourself. Trump is an old man, and who can take his place? Well, I know that there are some people that are coming up that represent a danger, and there are some that have some good ideas. Right now, the Democrat Party is looking for that next Obama, and I think that they see that in Beto O'Rourke, pretending to be a Mexican when he's really an Anglo-Saxon liberal weenie, a socialist monger who wants to devalue your life. Ernie, read the comments, please. It makes the stream more interactive. I'm sorry. I'm done with my monologue, all right? So I will start reading the comments. Yeah, 80% tax the government takes on the petrol in the UK. What the fuck is that? Here, I think we have about, when you take all the taxes together, it might come up to like 24% or something like that. Even that is way too high. But we use that money to repair roads and stuff. It actually all goes into one big fund, and then the politicians decide whatever the fuck they want to do with it. Farino Chum, he says, or she says, I'm not a U.S. citizen, and I am not really like Trump attitude, but I think he is doing the right things, better than previous U.S. president. And that's true. And I just said, I think the guy's an arrogant prick. But he still has our best interest in mind. He understands how business works, and how governments work, and how people work, and what motivates us. He understands way better than any politician that's there that has never created a fucking thing. This guy with his own two hands, created things, created jobs, created buildings. Do you know what it's like, and especially in a city like New York, to get anything done? He's been there, done it. There isn't a single politician up there that has done squat. Except take. They all become rich on the dole while they're there. They go in paupers, they come out princes. Trump, on the other hand, has taken a massive hit to his fortune. Some say lost as much as $2 billion. He doesn't take a salary. Bullshit. America has been pushing PC way before this. Yes, PC is a scourge. It is a scourge of the globalists, of the collectivism attitude. To try to quell our speech, to kind of devalue our speech, control the speech, control the culture. That's what the left is all about. Control. Everything that they say is exactly the opposite of what they are. Tyler, yes, short every friggin' rally. So let's take a look at where's Bitcoin today. Well, it was Tone Vays. He became bullish again. And so did Stevenson, another soy boy. And a bunch of other guys. They're all getting bullish. But look at Bitcoin. Look it. Doesn't look so bullish to me. Luke asks, who owns the Fed? European bankers from prominent families who have killed and raped their way into the top? Yeah, it's not only Europeans, but it's people over here too. There are consortiums that control the Fed, control the central banks. And they don't want, I mean, they're the ones that created the Fed in the first place. They saw that as their opportunity to control everything. The globalists. That's why the Fed is our enemy. Northern Europeans have the best system in the world. America has too many homeless living under the bridge. The empire is collapsing. Now, we have homeless people living in Democrat-controlled areas. That's where they peak, where they try to institute collectivism against our overall philosophy. It just breeds homelessness. Bob Miner says, it's Bitcoin's breaking that 4100 signal. I think it was, I watched this one Tone Vays video where he said, as long as we stay above 4100, that's bullish. Well, it didn't stay above 4,100 now, did it, Tone? What a fucking waste. ABC says, last I checked your channel, you said that Bitcoin was going to 1,000. You still hold on that? Yeah, I think so. I don't, have I said anything that would make you think otherwise? Have I? Have I said anything to make you think otherwise? Do the soy boy voice. It just comes out. I can't like do it spontaneously. I don't think. Or like on command. It's got to be spontaneous. All right. So now we have Siromad 07. Let me just say something. First of all, I caught a glimpse of your comment. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I can tell you right now that you're one of these half-measure type of people. Give a little bit here, give a little bit here, then we'll all be happy. That's kind of like the SJW way of thinking. It's weak. It holds nothing. There's no virtue in that. Okay, maybe I misread it. I think putting everything into left or right is basically divide or conquer. Well, there is some truth to that. That's the left's tactic. By playing politics on our identities. They want to create these identities so that they can split us apart and get us to fight each other. There has been a serious attack on the left for last number of years. Yeah, so I would say that, look, I am a classical liberal and what we used to consider left. Now the left has been co-opted by these socialists, evil people. I don't know what you're saying. Left equals educated people who don't need to live their lives by a political or institutional narrative? I don't see that at all. Sorry. You're wrong. You're so fucked up, man. I really feel sorry for you. ABC says, I don't know if you said anything because I haven't checked your channel in that long. I don't know what that... Let's see. Last I checked your channel, you said... Oh, you're referring to the 1000 call. Yeah. Divide and conquer. Yeah. Well, the whole purpose is to bring everybody down to the lowest common denominator. That's the purpose of conquering, so that you make people subservient to your will. That is and I will admit, that is the purpose of both the left, the far left, and the far right. But the left, they are a certain type of evil. And actually, you can almost equate the far left and far right to each other. Bob Miner wants to know, thanks, but can you go a little deeper on how you think this possible crash to 1K would play out, and what kind of time frame? Well, the time frame is going to be as long as necessary, but I think it's going to be a year or more, maybe multi-year. I think that will waver between 4 and 1K, and I've said this all along. There'll be lots of opportunity there to make money. I think the liquidity is going to be small, but the volatility will be relatively high. There will be people that will introduce things hoping that they can take advantage of this lull, and you know, people will gravitate towards one thing or another. Hopefully there will be some kind of killer app that pops out of all of this that shows some real value, that something people can understand, that provides real value and illustrates the real power of a decentralized ledger, but not until it has a decentralized governance model. Mark my words on that. A representative republic type decentralized governance model. That is what is needed. I keep on saying that. People don't hear it because maybe there are too many syllables or something. Thank you, Luke. Yes, thank you. Yes, smash those like buttons. Share this video. What do I think of Augusto Pinochet? Augusto Pinochet. Why do I know that name? He was a Chilean general. A U.S.-backed dictator of Chile before 1973. You trying to make a point here? Like somehow, you know, pointing back to the fact that we had our digressions and probably backed the wrong people, which is true. Yes, Bitcoin will die. It's going to be more like put on ice. What is that drug that turns people into zombies, you know? Lowers their heart rate, makes them immobile. Hey, Ernie, can you talk about why you closed out your... I already did. You just, Arakari, you weren't listening. It was the very first thing I addressed. What, like another ICO bubble dump again? That's horrible English, display ZZZZ. Probably. I don't know that by now. So, now see, I'm wondering. Yes, they're called extremists. Divide and conquer. And that's not a good answer. I guess you're wrong. Left means educated. I mean, everything that you're saying is wrong. You're a globalist. You're a pissant. A pissmeyer. That's my new name for Saruman Madne 07. A pissmeyer. He was more like a right-wing dictator, a fascist. You really don't know much about history, don't you? Well, I mean, you know, you pick these obscure people and I'm supposed to know about that like I give a shit. And fascist is not right-wing. Fascism is a philosophy. Right now, the liberals are fascists by every sense of the word. Stew, yoga, hot crumbs, ketamine. Rafael Quintana says, what's your thoughts on the S&P 500 until the end of the year? I think we're going to have a Santa Claus rally. That's why I am loading up big time. And I have been loaded up big time right from the bottom of this correction. Did really well. Big positions in the E-mini S&P 500, the 400, and the Dow. I lightened up right at the top here, took my profits, and now I'm starting to back in. Back in. Let's see, where is it today? Where is it right now? Struggling to like break out, but it's going to break out. So now what we need is we need some good background, some background stuff. What do you suggest for background? Background. Oh, I like this. This is relaxing. That's nice. But is it the same thing? Is that it? The whole thing? That's boring as hell. We need something that changes up. But we'll have it there for now. What's the extreme right? The extreme right? They're the extreme right. Fascism is not a synonym for extreme right. Period. That's what the left wants you to believe. But in fact, think about this. Political correctness and politically correct speech is, in fact, liberal fascism. So now the pissmeyer is going to try to trigger me, and it won't work. Fascists get militarized. Well, I see that the left has been trying to weaponize all the different parts of our government and the culture, the academia, the justice system, Hollywood, the media. Now, the alt-right, I agree. They are... Now, it depends on what you consider the alt-right, because if you just look at guys like from Alex Jones and then everybody to the left of him that are still considered right, they are not the alt-right. The alt-right are these Perry guys, these other guys that are the Nazis way off the farm. That's the alt-right. Breitbart isn't the alt-right. Andrew Breitbart was a liberal, for Christ's sake. Talking about learning your history. Rich77 says, you're a smart man, but your preoccupation with politics, left or right, is mental. No, as a trader, you need to understand where you stand. And politics is integral to the way this economy works. It's not all about companies and supply and demand. But to say, now, there is no alt-right movement. And I don't know what constitutes a movement. Is that, how many people is that? The alt-right, at least what I consider the alt-right, is a very, very small group. And the left wants to focus on that and then project that on everybody that's to the right of them. Well, Pissmeyer, it is very difficult to read, when you have hundreds of comments and you're trying to go through it and also put on a show. But I've heard enough from you. If you do say something of use, I will get to it, but so far, no. Adam says that's a lie. There is no alt-right movement left. That's a lie. I didn't say there wasn't alt-right people. There are, but they are small in comparison. I'm sure that there are Ku Klux Klan members out there, but they are very small in number. I'm sure there are neo-Nazis out there, but they are very... Actually, neo-Nazis, they're not even right. In many ways, I consider them left. They are socialists. Like the Antifa. They're no different than the neo-Nazis. They are the ultimate in fascists. Yeah. That's exactly right, Adam. They say, yeah, if you're not a liberal, then you're alt-right, you're a Nazi, you're a homophobe, you're a misogynist, you're a xenophobe. You're all of those things because you do not fall in line with the liberal dogma. That is true fascism. I doubt very much that Pope Francis will have any influence over the Christians now. There is a growing amount of the Christians that think that he is the Antichrist, and I believe that too. He is, in fact, been completely taken over by leftist mentality. That's a sickness. All right, we are definitely over on this show. I started a little bit late. I think around 10 past, 11 past. Now it's 12:15. I want to thank everybody for being patient with me. Watching, hitting that like button. If you haven't done so already, hit it. That's right, Crypto Bacon. We have to understand politics to understand where the markets are going, because if you ignore politics, then you're missing basically 70% of the picture. The markets are dictated by and large, by politics. Rich77 says, religion is a sickness. Thinking the afterlife is better than the real life is a sickness. It's just, that's hopium. People don't have any real value or worth in their own lives, and so they need to fill that void with some hopium out there that there is something better. It keeps them going. I am more like the Antichrist? I don't think so. You can believe that. Asdirt saying, dislike, too much fake news from Ernie. What are you talking about? What fake news? What have I spouted yet that is not truth? Thanks, Rich. Thanks for the like. Tyler says, Ernie, do you think Mueller will find enough dirt on Trump to impeach him? No. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, Mueller is going to be going down. And all of this is going to turn around, you'll see. He's basically been coercing people into lying to do his bidding. Oh, believe me, Miro, I am well rested. I feel okay. I expend that energy, but, you know, it's easy for me. Ernie, what trading platform or program are you using? Currently, I'm using Interactive Broker. I'm also using Thinkorswim by TD Ameritrade. And I'm also using TradingView for some charts. Yeah, but Rich77, it's true that the banks and the car companies did get big payouts, except for Ford. They didn't take one. So I have a special place in my heart for them. And of course, any foreign car company didn't take any bailout. If you believe in A or B, what are the choices of A and B? And nothing's free anyways. So Pablo's saying, Ernie, or asking, Ernie, what about punching Bitcoin Bob while making the soy boy voice? That's a great idea. I'll do another video because I lost my old video on Bitcoin Bob. Did I lose it? Let's check. Let's see if it's somewhere to be found. Yeah, it's not on this. It's not here. Maybe on this drive here. Yeah, I definitely lost that video. I wish somebody had... I'll just redo it. I'll make it better this time. I'll beat the hell out of Bob. Still looking, still looking. It is possible. It is possible that it's on this machine. So I'm going to another machine. I'm going to see if it's there. That's not bad, huh? It's a little loud. Alright, let's get OBS in front. There we are. Alright. Oh, man. Oh, there we are. It was very unorganized today. So I'm done. That's it for today, guys. I want to thank you very much again for joining me. And we'll see you next time. I will make an attempt to be on this evening at 11 p.m. So we're trying the old 11-11, 11T11. Maybe that's the new name of the show, the 11T11 show. Again, thank you. Hit that like button, and we'll see you next video.